In this session, we are going to know about how we can run a Spring Boot jar as a Docker container within quick time of 5 minutes. So in this, primarily, we are actually going to execute three steps. One is executing this Maven install command. For those who don't know what is Maven, Maven is a build tool. So when you specify this goal, install goal, you would get the artifact in the target directory that I would show you in a couple of minutes. And next we need to create a Docker file, and we need to, using that Docker file, we can build the Docker image. And the third step would be when we run the image, we would get the container in one of the available ports. I mean, not just in one of the available ports, in whichever port we want to expose the application to the outside world. Right. So now, or whatever the Java project which I wanted to demonstrate now, that is that the Java app is this sample REST app. And if you look at this sample REST app, all the source code I have in the src folder. So right now I'm going to delete this target folder because I want to build once again. So I'm going to open a command prompt, fresh command prompt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the first command which I have told as part of the first step. When I do a Maven install, what that would do is I have all the source code in the src directory. Right now it would create a target directory. Within that it would generate the required jar file, which we call it as artifact. Because basically what is a Docker container? Docker container is nothing but it's the artifact plus the required environment to run the application, right? Basically, we usually when you deploy an application, you deploy an application in the desired environment. But this using the Docker, we are actually removing the dependency of the environment in the infrastructure. So you just spin up in whichever machine you want to deploy, you can just run the Docker container by using this Docker run command, right? So before building the Docker image, so you, as part of this first step, you see right here we got that particular jar file in the target directory. Sorry, here in the target directory. So I will take this jar file and I will create the Docker file. So for the considering the time constraint, I have already created this Docker file within this sample REST app directory. And as part of the first step, I'm saying that I require this OpenJDK 14 as as Java is a backward compatible. If I specify JDK 14, it would help me even build applications which are actually dependent on JDK 11 or JDK 8 as well, or even the lower versions as well. And then as part of the next step, I'm saying that I require this artifact because I told right Docker container is nothing but artifact plus environment. So in the second step, I'm saying what is the artifact I require. So in the first step, I'm specifying the environment. In the second step, I'm specifying the artifact. In the third step, I'm telling how we can run the application. So the total command is to run the application. Here is it would be java-jar space the exact jar name. So here we are splitting the entire command into individual tokens and we give that as an entry point. For now, you ignore why we give that as a tokens or the syntax. So you just understand that we are passing the entire command as a tokens to this entry point. So this is the Docker file, how it looks like. And now I'm going to using this Docker file, I'm going to create a Docker image. So let me clear the screen. Yeah, when I want to build this Docker file, so I want to give some meaningful name as maybe let me say I want to create the Docker image with a meaningful name like Docker Spring Boot image. I will give today's date 11/8/20. Yeah. Sorry, I need to specify the Docker file as well. So the Docker file is within the current directory, right? So I would just give as dot. Yeah, now you are seeing right. I have specified three steps in the Docker file. So all these three steps would be executed sequentially. The first thing is it would download the OpenJDK 14, which I specified as the first step. In the second step, it would add the jar file to this particular file path, and the third step is it would execute the command that we have passed it as a tokens. So next what I will do is I will check whether that image is present as part of the images which I created just now. So when I say Docker images, it would give me the list of images, right? So here you are seeing, right? This is the one of the image I created just now. So which is just 34 seconds ago. So what I will do is I will run this image to spin up a container. So I need to specify one port. So I for every application, if you look at Spring Boot application, those who are familiar of the Spring Boot application, it uses the embedded server, so we don't require any external server. I mean, we don't require any other environment other than the JDK. That's the reason here, if you see, I told Docker container is nothing but artifact plus environment, right? That's the reason. Apart from the JDK version, I'm not specifying anything. So here the artifact is the jar file and the environment would be the JDK file. So that's the reason I didn't specify. I didn't ask Dockerfile to download any server for me because the Spring Boot itself will have the embedded server, Tomcat server. Yeah. So if you look at this application.properties, I am asking I'm asking the Spring Boot embedded server to run the application using this 8282 port. So, but the application runs within the container and the container uses this port, right? But I want to expose this application to the outer world, right? So I need to map one of the machine port to this particular Docker port. So what I will do is, let's say I want to run this port in the 9696, and I would want to map this port to the Docker port, which is the 8282. Now I need to specify the image ID. So I would take this image ID. Okay, so it is saying that that port is already allocated by being used by some other program. So what I would say is I would use maybe 7676. So now what I will do is I will use this 7676 port. Yeah, I'm able to access the application, right? But if you want to access the application using the 8282 port, because it is in the console, if you see, it is saying that the application started running in the 8282 port, with the context path, the DevOps learning, right? But if you do that, definitely it will not. You will not get the response. Let me try that, because the reason is the port 8282 is being used within the container, but not but it's not the port of the machine. All right, so you can't access that port directly. You need to expose that. You need to connect that port to some other machine port. Okay, what I can do is now I want to spin up one more container using the same image. So I will just open one more command prompt and I will just copy the command. But this time I got the error that the port is being allocated, right, earlier, right? So here I want to give 7575 port. Before that, let me see 7575 port and whether that is working fine. See, you see, right? You're not getting that response here. So when I tried with 7575 port, now I am going to execute this command and see what would happen. Yeah, if you see even this as well, even this is also saying that the Tomcat started on the port 8282, but you may get this doubt, right? In the if you look at the previous command prompt also, it is saying that The application is running in the 8282 port with the same context path. Here the containers are separated or partitioned, right? They are like a different blocks. So these containers environment wouldn't impact with the other containers environment. These are pretty much independent. So you did not bother about the container ports. So see here, you are right now it automatically got reloaded and we are seeing the response, right, for the 7575 port. Yeah, that's all. That's a quick introduction on how we can make use of Docker to run a simple Spring Boot jar. Yeah, that's all for today. We will catch up in the next sessions. Please like, comment, and share. Thank you all. Bye.